Hi, this is Kath, the Organic Crafter. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, loving what I make and getting to share it. Today I'm going to share with you a resource I've made for myself that I find really helpful. It's not the flashish looking resource, but it works for me. So here it is here. It's pieces of cardstock that I have punched out some of my punches that I use to mount sentiments on. I was finding I'd get frustrated with knowing just which sentiment would go with which punch. So I thought I needed to help myself out to reduce that frustration. So I tried this. Let me show you how it works. And then I'll show you how easy it is to make. So I've got stamp set here, Itty Bitty Birthdays, lots of sentiments on here. So if I pick a sentiment, then I can put it in here and think, is that, well, one, I know it'll fit, and two, is that the shape I want? And sometimes, let me find my circles, sometimes I want to use a circle. I know I want to mount my sentiment on a circle. So I know, I can see straight away that's not going to fit. Now if you have good spatial awareness, you would know that probably without having to measure it. It's not a strength I have, spatial awareness that is. So here's another one of my circle ones. Let me see. Yes. Oh, actually that stamp's upside down, but not that it matters for this. Yes, I can see that would fit in, and that's my 1 3/8 circle punch. So I know, because it's pretty good fit there, that's the size that I would want. And then if I want to have a layer underneath it, I know which size to go to. So that's how I have found this tool very useful. Let me show you how easy it is to make. You might have already worked it out. I'll put that to one side. So I've got some almost squares of cardstock. I've just used some of my retired cardstock because I have quite a bit of it. And I aimed for squares of card that are 10 centimetres by 10 centimetres. Some of them are a little bit smaller because that's just how it was in terms of the scraps, the leftover pieces of cardstock I had. So I've just got this bundle here. See, if I put them all together, where am I going there? There's all different sizes there, but for me it's close enough. Okay, so then, tricky bit coming next, just a warning. So this is the tag topper punch. Open that. What I do is I try and centre it as best I can. My cardstock in there. I push the cardstock in as far as I can that way, and then push it, and there I've got my resource that I can then use to measure. And of course I've actually got two. Sometimes having the positive space to work on is easier than the negative space, but mainly I use the negative space. So that's all just going through doing a whole, as many as I want of those, depending on how I have, as I have punches that I use for putting words on, using for my sentiments. When I'd finished them, I lined them up as best I could like this, and I used my crocodile because that's what I've got, and just worked out where I wanted the hole to be and punched a hole in it. And with a Crop-A-Dile, which is not a Stampin' Up tool, it just lets you go through many layers at once. Now if you don't have a Crop-A-Dile or some kind of single hole punch, you can just use a double hole punch that you've got in amongst your stationery items and just put it in one end so that you're only getting one hole. Now I put mine together with ribbon because I thought that was going to work best for me, and it kind of does, but you might be able to see that I've got a little bit of a tangle there, so I'm not sure that it's going to stay on my ribbon. But one of the things I like about it on a ribbon, if I can untangle it, is it gives me hanging space, so I just can hang it near where I work, and it's right there as an easy resource to have without being something else I put on my craft table. Now for most of them I don't label it. Oh, let me come back to that. So, and if you don't like the idea of ribbon getting tangled, another idea that you can use is one of these big rings. Get the rings in different sizes, whatever size works for you. If I was going to do this, I'd use a big ring because it gives me lots of space to move them around and see what I've got. And I guess actually if I had a big ring I could hang that as well. Gonna have to think about that. Okay, coming back to this piece. Most of them I haven't labelled because I think it's for me it's quite obvious which punch I have used. However, when I come to my circle punches, she says, going through and finding the circle punches. So for the circle punches, I've put the size on here, so not sure if you can see that. I've got on there 1.5, so I know that's my 1.5 inch circle punch. And I just found that useful so that I could easily, I found that useful so that I could easily know which circle punch I needed to use. So there's my resource for matching my punches to my sentiments. So here's my resource for matching my punches to my sentiments. I find it really useful. It was very easy to make. It's the sort of thing that I am using a lot. I hope you found this useful and that maybe you'll use some of your old cardstock to make yourself a resource like this. If you want more information or to see instructions for these, please head over to my website, organiccrafter.stampinup.net. Thanks so much for joining me today and being part of sharing what I love doing. Appreciate your time. Till the next time, bye for now.